guys, Coleman, the Up North Picker here. But alright guys, so I was at the thrift store, and lately I've been trying to kind of focus on vintage and winter stuff. And like winter, I mean, then I'm really trying to do both. I'm trying to find vintage winter clothing, vintage clothing, and all that. So I've been really focusing on that lately, and I've been finding some pretty cool stuff. And it's amazing how much old vintage stuff you find if you actually start looking for it. If you know what to look for, you know, the first thing I look for is a Made in the USA tag. So here, I'll show you some of the stuff I picked up. Now most of this right now is just over in the main clothing section, not like in the coats, but we'll get to it. These are just a pair of Levi's 514s or 3434s. Now I need to study Levi tags because, man, I used to remember like silver tabs and all that when I was younger, but I don't know which Levi's are worth money or not, and I don't want to sit and try to look up every pair. And if you can study the Levi's and you can study these tags, then once you know the numbers, like the 514 here, and the numbers, the Levi's, this little guy changes, or did, vintage wise. As you see, this is a small E, and there's different ways they use the E. Now I need to study that to figure out how to know things are vintage or not, but that's just something to keep an eye on. But I paid $4 for these, and that's pretty cheap for jeans. But the reason I actually bought these, one, was to take a little time to study Levi's, and two, they're my size, and so if they're not worth a reasonable amount of money, I'm going to keep them for myself. Merry Christmas me. Then here we have, paid $3 for this Columbia fleece, Columbia jacket, fleece. Now these are newer, these aren't vintage, but it's a nice Columbia fleece. I paid $3, and I think, you know, I'll study the subject, but I think you can definitely sell Columbia, North Face, that kind of thing, still for a reasonable amount of money. You know, I paid $3, so we'll see what they go for. Here's a sweater. This was an interesting sweater. The reason I bought it, and because it's not something I would wear, it's kind of got a little V-neck there and all that, but the sweater is, I paid $3 for it. And it's merino wool, but it's made in Italy by Luigi Baldo. And for $3, I thought this was nice enough, and maybe that's got some potential. Made in Italy, you know, kind of like made in the USA. It's not made in China. I don't know if this is a vintage piece or not. I'll have to study the actual brand. But for $3, I decided to take, because I didn't have a lot of time to sit there and try to look up the brands in the store at this time because I was in a big hurry. But for $3, and it's made in Italy, and it's wool and all that, it looks kind of vintage, I don't know. But for $3, I'm going to take the risk. We have another sweater here. Well, and this is, for $3, we have Woolrich. Now, this is newer, but not as new. This is made in India. It's Woolrich, size 2XL. It's a green sweater style. Now, this is one, Woolrich is a good brand. I'll pick up every piece of Woolrich I can find. Let me see if I can find a little more tag for you. Well, 100% cotton, made in India, 80, 90. I'll have to study when they made in India. I think most of the Woolrich stuff now is made in China, and I've seen some stuff. So I'm guessing this is a little bit older, but right now I'm grabbing anything Woolrich I can find. And at $3, I'm buying every piece of Woolrich I can ever buy at $3 because it's worth a lot more than $3. And if you can find the vintage made in the USA, union tags, whatever, then it's worth even more. The newer stuff, but go to Woolrich.com and look up how much new Woolrich costs. And that new Woolrich is made in China. It's not as good as the vintage, but yeah, look at the prices, and you'll be you'll be just amazed at what new Woolrich costs. And so Woolrich is a bolo. If you find it, you buy it. Even if it's new made in China stuff or newer. Here's another Columbia. I paid $2 for an extra large Columbia. Made in Taiwan. It's just a fleece. It's a fleece jacket. It's nothing really special. It's kind of got, but you know, and it needs a little cleaning. It's got the cool Columbia emblem there. It's just fleece, but it's Columbia. And for $2, I'm gonna buy Columbia, North Face, that kind of stuff all the time. Made in Taiwan, extra large. The worst, you can wear it for yourself in the winter. Then here, I grabbed a pair of pants. I don't buy a lot of pants. Only reason I did was, and these were actually in the women's section, they just happened to be, they're usually $4, but they were in the 75% off section. So they were in like the closeout section, and so I got them for like around $1. And so I looked, and then I thought these, I seen the tag in there, Tommy Hilfiger, women's. And you can actually look on Tommy Hilfiger and tell how old they are. These are stretch, made in Bangladesh. But you got to look at the tags for Tommy Hilfiger. Now, and see right here. You can look, and there's a little tag there, and it says 0804. That means these were made in 2004. So they're actually getting close to vintage. I suppose I should just put them in a box for 3 years. But these are women's. I like the inside there. That's pretty cool. Tommy Hilfiger with some stretch. They got the TH on the back. But for basically $1, I'm going to grab Tommy Hilfiger all day. They're size 18. They're size 18, made in Bangladesh. I don't know women's sizing. You know, I mean, they're not big, they're not small, I don't know, they're medium size. Well, maybe they're big, I don't know. But for $2, for $1 or so, I'll have to look them up, but for $1, I'm going to grab anything Tommy Hilfiger or those kind of brands every day. And there was another thing over that I found. There was another one in the clearance aisle. They had this priced at $7 normally, but nobody bought it, so I got it clearance for 25%, so I got it at like $1. And these are Columbia, the newer style Columbia. Let's see, new with tags and everything. Original tag was $39, and it's the Columbia. I don't know. They're like a fishing pants. Women's. Looks like they zip off on there, but they're Columbia. Yeah, they got the PFG, and the PFG seems to be the most popular Columbia right now. And I mean, these aren't an expensive thing, but they're new with tags. And for $1 something, you know, and if they're originally, yeah, the Columbia tag says $50. I don't know if I can get 50% of that. If I can sell these for $25, we're doing pretty good at like $1. And so there's another thing that I'll have to get listed, but right there, let's see, what size are these? They're women's small regular. So I mean, yeah, they're not very big, but there's a lot of girls that are that big, I guess. So right here, they're ready to list. They're new with tags. I'll buy new with tags all the time, especially cheap, unless it's a pure Walmart brand. But Columbia or something like that, I'm always gonna pick it up new with tags as long as it's reasonably priced, and that's dirt cheap. Then I went over and looked at the hats. You know, I'm always looking for kind of the vintage hats. Here's a Cargill hybrid seeds. These kind of vintage farmer hats are in style now. And I don't know a lot to be able to say that to age these. I don't think that this one, it's made by Osterman Outfitters, but every local place has a place that makes hats and everything. But I paid 50 cents for it. And it's a Cargill seeds, hybrid seeds. I mean, it's that bill's never been bent. I don't think this hat's ever been, I look at it, I don't think this hat's ever been worn. And it's snapback. So trying to age this hat, well, there's no, you know, if you look in the inside, there's not a bunch of styrofoam or whatever that junk is, but, and so this is a nice hat, but for 50 cents, I think we can do alright. I mean, maybe we sell for 10. If it's fit, if I look it up, I find the exact same hat, the same style, it's going for more than great, but it's still, I'll experiment with hats a little bit. And we got a Cargill hybrid seeds. This is kind of like the corduroy style hat. And once again, we got, you know, this one says Swingster, made in the USA. I mean, they don't, and this one I'm pretty sure is vintage because it's got this guy. Made in the USA with the visor deal. I'm pretty sure visors are vintage because I remember those, I don't know, maybe in the 80s. And so, yeah, a hat like this, I'm pretty sure is vintage. And Cargill hybrid seats. Now, if this said K-Bid John Deere, this would be a $500 hat. I don't know what Cargill hybrid seeds hat is, but it's definitely vintage. And the Swingster, gotta look up that brand. But once again, it looks like a hat that there's no sweat stains, there's no nothing. It has, you know, I gotta run a lint roller over it, but I'm pretty sure this hat's never worn. So, well, I think I'm going to do pretty good on these hats. Agra SC soil treatment. Here's just another one that, well, I can't tell if it's vintage or not. This one was made in the Dominican Republic by Yupong. Now, I've heard that name before. So that Yupong name, we'll have to look that up because that might be a good name. And little paper tag. You can tell these weren't used. Why? Because these little paper tags had probably been ripped out if they were used. But one size fits all, made in the Dominican Republic. And now aging this hat, I would say, just on my very little knowledge of hats, this is definitely old. I'd say it's probably vintage, but being made in the Dominican Republic instead of, say, the USA might make it more 90s. But I'll have to look it up. And I'm sure I can look up that Yupong and get the labels and know it pretty good. Alright, little quick thing I found for $1. Let me see what color was the tag. Yeah, it was $1, green. This is a VHS reminder, or rewinder, not reminder. But these are old, obviously they don't make VHS anymore. Guys like this, I've had some like this. I've never had this exact brand. But basically, stop and eject. You put the tape in there. You rewind it. These things rewind quicker, and so when I'm testing VHS tapes and that, I can have this to rewind them so I don't have to sit and rewind in a VCR and all that. Now, how much are these worth? Well, I've seen them go from $10 to $20 to $30 or more, but it all depends on the brand and everything. But now if this is a $10 item, I only paid $1. If it's a $10 item, I'm probably going to keep it and use it just to rewind VHSs for myself. But if it's $20 or $30, I'd probably put it on the market. Now, they were nice to me because they had a bunch of vintage coats, and so they do. Somebody donated a bunch of Ikea bags, so they gave me an Ikea bag. And I didn't have an Ikea bag, and these things are nice. Look how big these things are. These are what you need if you want to be out picking. If you want to go to a garage sale, get a bunch of these. Because literally you can load these things up with stuff. And I don't know what they cost at an Ikea. I've never been in one in my life. But find them used or go to Ikea and buy them. But for the price of these, you know, for the size, they're awesome. And this was free, so even better. Now this is where we get over to the vintage coats. Because I took some time digging through these babies. Now, and you pay a little more for vintage coats usually because, especially in the winter. Now, if you wait until spring, you could probably load up on everything they got left for a little bit of nothing. But right now is the time to have them. So most coats, you'll find that a lot of these thrift stores coats are about $5. And this is a 42R or something. Yeah, I don't know size as well. But this is a London Fog. And if you look on this, you'll see that it has the whole town and state here. London Town Corporation, Baltimore, Maryland. Now, when you're looking for vintage, the new London Fog, newer stuff is made in China, and it'll say made in China right there. Now, but when you're looking at vintage, first thing you do is look at the tag right here. But then secondary, there's usually a tag somewhere down here. Now, you're not always going to find it right here. There's an inside tag here. Well, that one just says, of course, dry clean only. And all of this vintage wool and that kind of stuff is almost always dry clean only. It's one of the things I kind of, 42 regular, it's one of the things I get a little iffy about buying them, is because if they do have a stain or something, unless they're an extremely expensive coat, I'm not paying to have it dry cleaned. I will clean it up as best as I can, and then I will list it, and the new owner's job is to get it dry cleaned if they so want to. Now, this has got a layer, so I'm trying to find if there's another tag here. And so you might not always find that secondary tag, but oftentimes there'll be another tag on the inside of the coat. And so, as I look here, I'm not seeing it on this one. But I did a little bit of research on the London Fog coat brand, and the older ones will say made in the USA everything right here. Now it's kind of an in-between time. Now the newer ones are made in China. This one here, based on this, I have to double check, but this is probably 80s or 90s. Now the older ones, you'll usually find the made in the USA. It's usually in Baltimore or in Maryland or Tarrytown or whatever, London Town. And then you'll usually find Union, made in America Union tags too. Now, so you can kind of age this just as a general rule. Yeah, it's probably 80s or 90s. Still vintage, very nice. I mean, a very nice coat, $5 with the faux fur most likely. And then really nice women's coats. Most of the London Fog stuff is for women, but they do make men's too. But it seems to be a pretty popular women's style, because you got the faux fur, it's got the inside faux fur lining. I mean, this is a nice coat, and if for $5, you can't beat it. So here's another vintage piece, $5, made by Schlampps in Minneapolis, Minnesota. If you don't know where Minneapolis is, it's in the up north. It's in Minnesota. It's the biggest city in Minnesota. And back in the day, they would have made stuff there. Now this is a nice looking coat. It's not a huge size. It's a medium, it says. If you look at this, I mean, this is a pretty sweet coat. It's another women's style. Women like to have that fur on the old style. I mean, made in Minneapolis, that's definitely dating this item as pretty old. Now, I have to do a little more look on here. And when we dig in here, you can see the really cool inside too. Now, this one actually has, I'm pretty sure that says Mary Lou Stickle? I think it says Mary Lou Stickle. I don't know if that's somebody's name or brand or who made it. So that's different. Maybe that's the person who actually made it in the deal. I'll have to look that up. Now, once again, I'm inside here looking to see if I can find extra tags, like Union made tags or something like that, because that'll help me date this coat. But if it says made in Minneapolis, well, you've already dated it to pretty old. That's before they even started worrying about being made in the USA, because everything just was. Here we got another Wolverine vest. I bought one of these like a week ago. The exact same vest. Both of them size large. They look exactly the same. I listed it and within a day or two, I listed it for $30. And within a day or two, I had an offer for $25 and I took it. So I shipped that out already. And so this will be an extremely easy list because I already have a listing for it. All I have to do is check the condition wise, double check the length and width. And if everything's exactly the same as it should be from factory, Boom, I just re-upped that listing. $25 or $30. Boom. And it cost $2. So, and these are nice. Cool. Then I find this guy. Now this is heavy duty. Now, I don't know if this is old. It's $4, it's an extra large. But, it's John Deere. People around here pay up the yin yang for John Deere. Now this one's made in Cambodia, it's an extra large. I'm pretty sure this isn't vintage, but it's got that 100% vintage look to it. I mean, look at this. This thing is sweet. I mean, John Deere. There's 100% size extra large. Yeah, this is a newer coat, or within the last 10 years probably. But a John Deere jean jacket for, what did I say I paid? $4? Get out of here. This is easy money right there. Of course, then I'll look it up and it won't be worth anything, but for the most part, anything John Deere sells, and it's John Deere's, be on the lookout. Not a lot of stuff, you know, especially clothing or whatever. Be on the lookout for John Deere. Last coat. Now look at this. Now this looks vintage, no? Right? This is long. It's a trench coat or overcoat style. It's a topper by Craft. There's a little bit of staining on the inside silk or whatever that is, I see, but that's not even noticeable because it's on the inside of the jacket. Now this is a extra large. I mean, it's old school style right here, like the plaid pleated, whatever color scheme you want to call it. Now, I'll have to look up the brand, but looking up a topper by Craft, I mean, that tag like that is most likely vintage. Looking on the inside quick here. See a little wear spot there, but this coat's old, so there's going to be, a lot of times there's going to be a little bit of flaws, but that's because they were actually worn. Now, I'll have to look this coat up because, yeah, there's more than a few flaws, but so that's what happens when you can see that it just looks like it's getting a little thin in some spots. It's, you know, probably hard to see through there, but it does look like maybe getting a little thin. But that's on the bottom and you wouldn't even notice that wearing it. And so I'll have to look this up, but maybe this was a bad buy, $5, but I'm always willing to take the risk when it comes to vintage. And people like these overcoats. You know, they're kind of a style that goes over, and so I'm trying to find another tag in there. And I mean, you can just tell by the look of this and the style that this is old. But I'll have to research the brand, Craft, and the topper. I mean, I'll have to do the research on it, but I don't think we lose at $5. And if it ends up being not worth anything, I'll still buy it every time. But I'll learn after this time on the brand. But if you can pick up vintage and it's in good enough shape, this has a little bit of flaws, but this coat could be 40, 50 years old, and thus, what's the likelihood there's not going to be a flaw. Alright. Last thing I picked up was, I don't know, just because it's me, I got another Looney Tunes tie for 50 cents. Once again, don't buy ties. There's no money in them. But I have a bunch of these Looney Tunes, and so I'll either keep them for myself or I'll just get enough one day to have that I can make a lot, and I'll just lot them up and sell them off for, you know, I only pay 50 cents a piece usually for these, so maybe I can lot them up and, you know, have 10, sell them for 20 or something. I mean, they're still kind of cool. And if you look at the back, I don't know, you know, they say Looney Tunes, and yeah, this one's 1995. It's vintage, so I mean, there's a chance. But general rule, ties aren't overly valuable. unless you really know ties, and you can buy them new and they're some extremely $200 brand, then you can sell them for 20 because ties just don't have much of a resale, but they're still fun. So that's what I picked up at that thrift store, and that was me focusing on trying to find vintage and older items. Now, you want, right now, winter items, good workwear items, and vintage is vintage. Grab it, it's only going to go up in value. So, if you like this video, please hit the like button. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. You know how to do that by now. Just hit the subscribe button or the little berserker sitting right over here in this video when he comes by. Click on him. And, well, I'm going to shoot a couple more videos here in the next day or two just to try to get some stuff out for Christmas, because when it gets to be Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, I won't be shooting videos and I won't be out picking or anything else. I'll be hanging out with my family, and I hope you guys are able to do the same thing. And so if you get a chance, spend some time with your families, and you know, remember the holiday season. And if you celebrate another holiday outside of Christmas, I wish you a happy holiday, be it you know, whatever holidays you celebrate. Coleman, the Up North Picker, out.